What's up, guys? This is Saiyan here, coming at you with another deck profile. Let me take you back in time about 9, 10 months when the Evangelion Chrono card game came out. I fell in love with that game. Still very much loving it, although we haven't really played much recently. But what I forgot to do back in the day was profile a couple of my deck profiles. So here you have it. This is my mono red Evangelion only Chrono Clash deck profile. What could this be? Alright, so to start with, uh, let's look at what we work with unit wise. We're starting with our lowest cost here is cost 3 Evangelion test type of 1. Um, obviously, it's when it comes into play, you get to draw an EX card, and the chosen player draws an EX card as well. Strength 4 is alright. The recovery isn't too bad, but we're not necessarily going to make a huge amount of use of it. And it's good on the stack as well. It basically returns the card back into the hand, so it's okay. It's certainly for a 3 cost, it's alright, I think. One of my favorite units in red, the Next Gen Test Battle 4. It has fast, so as soon as it comes down, it can attack, and when it attacks, it gets +2 strength. So it comes down, actually, it can swing immediately, which is quite a rarity. Certainly for Evangelion, we only really have this card, and we're gonna see Shinji as well, who can grant fast to one of our units. What's great about this is it can be quite a surprise to our opponent. Is usually, obviously, there aren't many cards. There are basic cards, not extra cards, that come down with fast. And it's quite a heavy hitting one as well for only 4 cost. On the stack is brilliant as well. It draws you an extra card that does everything that we want, basically. Another one of our 4 drops is, and this actually I run 2 of in my blue-red deck as well, the progressive knife, the Lil progressive knife, as we could probably call it. Obviously, the blue one is a phenomenal progressive knife, Evo 1. Or even Evo 2, I should say. But this guy comes down, doesn't do anything at first, but when he swings, it basically destroys a Sentinel. And it's exactly what it does on the stack as well. Destroys a Sentinel. Sentinel's really strong in Evangelion, so it's really handy to have a removal for Sentinels, and you can just immediately attack for the stack. If we can get this guy down and put Shinji on it to fast it, it can be quite a surprise for our opponent. We obviously get rid of the Sentinel, and then we can go straight for the stack. Fantastic little guy. For our 5 costs, we're running quite a few. We have another test type of 1. A strength of 4 for a 5 cost doesn't necessarily look like a big deal, but again, this one has recovery. And when it attacks, we lose 2 time. However, we can untap one of our other units, which is very useful in some cases. On the stack, we tap one of our battlers, and they gain Sentinel, which is also nothing to be scoffed at. Again, as I said, having Sentinels, particularly having 1 Sentinel down, is okay. The opponent can deal with it. But when you start to get 2, 3 Sentinels down, they are having usually a really rough time getting through all that defense. These 2 cards are virtually identical, so I'm just going to put these 2 angels down side by side. I say virtually identical, well, they do the same thing. They basically direct damage. This one when it comes into play, this one on tap. They both obviously have their uses. You probably want to sequence them. These 2 guys, if you can bring down Lilith, and then the turn after you can bring down the 5th angel. With Lilith being down, you can tap Lilith, -3 one of the cards, then you drop this guy, -3 again, you just kill the 6th strength card. That's very strong. They both have taunt, which can be also very good, particularly if you have like a weak Sentinel down that you might want to protect. particularly this guy with the 7 strength is quite a house to get through. Even this guy with a 6 is not too bad. Obviously this guy can't swing, purely defensive, and you want to be tapping it just to make sure you're obviously getting rid of either smaller battlers, or with this one, or if you get too little down, just carry on pinging, just ping, ping, ping. This can't go after battler, is not really a problem. It can go straight for stack with the +1, perfect. These cards are just phenomenal in the Evangelion economy. For 6 costs, obviously we are a bit strained for units if we're only working with one color, as you would expect. This certainly is a card that I would replace. If this was a dual color deck, there's no way I would run this. A, we're not questing. B, even if we were questing, this wouldn't be my choice for a card that I would want to be questing with. The 2 previous angels just do that reduction much better. Yes, she does blow up a 4 or less strength card, but questing is just, it's not efficient. However, it does hit with a +1, so it's just realistically a 6 strength to hit him for 2. That's what we really use this card for. Last but not least, of course, why would you run red if you're not running Evo 13? This beast is just the most amazing card. I absolutely love this card. Yes, it is very heavily costed. That's why I am basically really enjoying running this in the blue red deck, because it's quite easy to get this out with the blue red deck, obviously having so much extra time on our hands with the help of blue. But +2 on the stack with taunts, and when you play it, it also destroys a 5 or less strength. So it's removal, it hits very heavy, it's also a tank strength, it's just an absolute beast, just like in the anime. 3 full play set as it should be. So for pilots, we are running 3 Shinji. Now remember, these guys can just be played as battlers as well. They don't have to go on an Eva. But if you want to put them on an Eva, you gotta make sure that it does say Eva there. It's particularly if you run, obviously, this particular setup, you kind of always still want to check whether, you can't put these on the angels. We only have those 2 angels, the 5th angel and Lilith. So the likelihood of not being able to put the pilots down onto an Eva is very low, though. This card, however, love this card because it basically draws you a card. Card attack battler is not a problem, but you get to look at the top card of your deck when this card is destroyed, and if it's a battler, it goes into your hand. So basically, it's a pseudo card draw. We have a good chunk of battlers, obviously, as you can see, plus we will have more pilots as well. We're not really running a lot of extra cards, so your chances of drawing card of Shinji is very high. On the stack, it just basically jumps into your hand, which is also basically a card draw. So we don't mind that. I actually really like this Shinji. I'm running this in my favorite deck as well, which is the blue-red. If you haven't checked out the deck profile yet, please do. We are running Kaworu and Shinji just to help with the previous Shinji to draw into a battler. This guy is actually very good for it to come down on its own. When it swings, it gets +1 strength. If you hit it on the stack, you just draw a card. We're mostly running it for the stack ability. It's okay as a pilot, nothing obviously huge. If it does end up on a 13, though, it's quite funny because you end up with a 13 strength attacker. That's certainly something that basically opponent can't really deal with that. The only other card in the Eva sets that has fast, and it's not an extra card, Shinji Ikari. This is even better than the next gen testbed because you can put this guy on any of your freshly played battlers, freshly played Evas, and just be able to swing with it immediately. And on the stack, it again just jumps into your hand, so highly unlikely that you're gonna miss this guy. Besides that, yeah, obviously it's a 3 cost. You don't want to play this guy as a basic battler. You always want to play this as a pilot, and it's a fantastic card. Absolutely fantastic. We have 3 copies of Shinji and Rei. Obviously, we are maxing out on a lot of playsets. Red doesn't necessarily give us a huge amount of selection, but it still is actually not bad in a vacuum. Uh, this is pretty much a, play it as a battler if you just need a, cheap guy. If you see the chance to get in, yeah, get it down. Again, we have the recovery. Can be sometimes useful. It's quite circumstantial though. And on the stack, it basically shuts down one of our opponent's battlers. That's really good. Again, this guy on the stack is fantastic. We are running 3 Mari Makinami Illustrious here, not for the questing, but we run her because if she is destroyed, we get to draw an extra card. That's really cool. And also, if we take out the questing ability, even on the stack, it can tap down a guy. If we want to go questing with her, yeah, fine. By all means, all of our battlers gain +3 when they swing. This is actually one of those cards that is worthwhile questing with, but she's very weak. So we would need a big setup of taunters to make sure that she actually does get through with her questing, which is, it really is hand dependent. I'm basically running her to run her into trouble, get her destroyed to get us an EX card. And then finally, our last pilot is, of course, Nice to Meet You, Father. He's very good just to come down again as a battler to swing. He doesn't have to be a pilot. Yes, we can save a little bit of time by putting him on a unit, but realistically, the thing is Wikawaru. He's good either way. A 4-cost, 4-strength attacker that gains +2 when it swings, and also gives an opponent's battler -2 is fantastic. However you look at it, on the stack it draws us +1 card, which is also fantastic. I would always run this in any red deck. It's just such a solid card. And then on to the extra cards, we run 2 Spear of Longinus and Cassius. This card I think is quite underrated, and even I will admit that I don't normally tend to find space for this card, but working with a red-only vacuum, to have 2 extra cards that basically just sweep up all the Sentinels and also gives us an extra card is ridiculously good for 4 cost. Even if the only thing it said remove 1 Sentinel and draw an extra card for 4, I would already take it. But it removes all the battlers with Sentinel. It blows all of them up. On the stack, it jumps into your hand, which again just makes it even more playable. You are probably about to say that. Only 2 now, because we don't want to end up just with this stuck in our hands. We do have a number of different ways, as you could see, to get to our extra cards. So this is just more like an addition for that. It's quite a nice attack card. Misato Katsuragi, another sub-theme. Is not just fast that we have as a sub-theme here, but we also have re-standing our battlers as a theme, as a sub-theme in this deck. And the only 2 cards that do this again are in red, Test Typo 1 and Misato. We have them both. I prefer Misato, it just stands everybody, but it does require a little bit of setup, which can make this a little bit more of a difficult card to play. Don't be shy to play it, even if you just have the 1 guy down and re-standing it. If that's your best option, by all means, go for it. Okay. Roll it around like that. Yep. And then our final 3 cards, and this is obviously, this doesn't need any introduction. Ritsuko, just to do it all for red. On the stack, it returns a chosen battler to the hand. That can be ours if we want to benefit from something like, obviously, one of the best ones to profit of is 5th Angel. Bounce it back into our hands so we can replay this guy again. Hurt some card for 3 strength again. But that's only, of course, if she's on the stack. We play for 2 cost, gets us an extra card, so immediately replaces itself. It taps a chosen battler, obviously that will be our opponents, and it gives all our battlers recovery. Again, red does recovery. It's probably not the best effect, but it does have some uses to being able to just have this card that comes down for 2 that gets us an EX card, and it can tap a battler. I'm just running it for that, and for that it's enough. You get the extra benefit. If you can profit of it, go for it. If you can't, then well, still play it. Obviously, for extra cards, there isn't going to be any real selection here. We have to run the AAA Wunda. I'm not a big fan of this card because he can't attack. I don't see why this card would come down with fast. Actually, not this card. I think this card, yeah, we can tap it when it comes down with fast. It will be Mark 6 that I don't understand why it comes down with fast. Because we can't quest off it immediately. This guy comes down, can't attack. Yeah, it's a fairly okay defender for a 2 cost of 5 strength. That's alright. But remember, most of our cards, well, most of our cards can come down off it, but we don't really have too many 2 cost cards, so we normally be losing some net time. If it comes down for a test type 1, well, you lost 1 time in effect. You're playing a 2 cost onto a 3. Most of the pilots, as I said, you probably wouldn't want them to be down on their own, but you can use something like, okay, get down this one, for example, 2 cost, you trade it for a 2 cost, you might swing in. If it survives, then you can bring AAA Wunda down, but this is not my favorite red extra card. It's in the extra deck though, because we do want to maximize our chances still. Mark 6 is also a little bit weak, although obviously he can come down, swing immediately for 3 strength. If nothing else, we do get him for 1 stack card. Where stuff gets interesting is with the Positron Cannon, Eva 01. It's a 4 cost for a 5 strength, and it does what our angels do. And that's what this red deck does actually fairly well, is getting in these ping damages, but you can also swing in with fast for a +1, making it quite a good card actually for red. I love the dummy system. It's such a stupidly good card. No, it can't attack battlers. It doesn't want to attack battlers. It just wants to come down. Cheap, huge strength. Go and swing immediately. We can hit our opponent for potentially 3, which is huge. And if it gets removed, well, we basically are potentially drawing 2 cards. And again, red doesn't have many card draws. So this is one of the best card draws that red has. I also really like Eva Awaken because it grants all our battlers fast. However, it does need a lot of setting up, and it's quite difficult to do with these cards. You have to pay a 6 cost, so you have to have battlers that survived the previous turn. But then for those guys, it doesn't really matter whether you give them fast or not. It's quite a circumstantial card. Will you have a lot of time to drop a lot of weenies down? Maybe, maybe not. It definitely needs a lot of thinking when you want to drop Eva 01 Awaken. But by far the best, again, Evangelion 13, another beast. I would say it is, functionality-wise, yes, it is better than the main deck 13. Strength-wise, yes, it's better than the main deck 13. However, you have 3 copies of this guy. Your chances of hitting this guy are much more slim than getting into this one. But being able to potentially hit him for 4 is basically game-winning in most situations. Quite clever design that it's not an 8 cost, so you can't just bring it down off one main deck Evo 13. You need to have something else down. which means you're probably going to be losing 2 battlers to bring this beast out, but it's worth it. When it swings, you have to discard a card, but again, you return a chosen battler to your opponent's hand. If that's a taunter, if that's a sentinel, it might clear the board for you to be able to get in for 4, unless your opponent hits specifically a removal of the stack. Nothing's going to stop 11 strength. You're going to be pretty much winning as soon as you see this guy drop. That's the reality. So this is it, ladies and gents, for our mono red Evangelion Chrono Clash deck. I hope you enjoyed it. I know this is a weird one because not many people have really looked at monocolor decks. However, my good friend over at CCG Replays, he has built a mono blue deck some moons ago, last year. So do go and check that out as well. Compare it to this red deck and see what you think about them. Leave a comment below. Make sure you like the video. Subscribe if you haven't yet. And of course, share this video with a friend if they like card games or Evangelion. Peace. YouTube.